Special. Have your agenda in front of you.
Final reading of an ordinance. 00249. Road and Hershey Circle and building approximately 2.5 acres to be combined. 0000279 and 280. Currently done to R2M. Worcester County and GP General Business. Following the annexation of the town of Summerville Municipal Units, and this is in Council District 4.
A second. Motion and a second for approval of second final reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Approval of minutes from the standing committee meeting on February 10th, 2025, the Public Works Committee on Water Supply, Planning and Development Committee, Public Safety Committee, and Finance Committee.
I'll make a motion, we approve those.
I'll second that. All right, motion and second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And before we go into item 4, I just want to thank staff for the preparation and the awesome breakfast. I had not planned on eating breakfast at all. Yes, I won't want coffee, but you did such a good job that I had to say yes. Because
I already ate and I had to say yes.
turn it up to you next Friday.
We're kicking off again with this priority workshop, which I think is a great idea. I'm glad we're all here to do this. Make some revenue projections. I hope these are more accurate than the top 25 preseason football polls at this point. Sure, I haven't been able to dig into some of the numbers, but I feel really good about it. As I've had a couple of years under my belt and being able to evaluate concerns, certainly feeling more comfortable with some of the line items as to where we are. A little bit of history to compare where we are. So I have 22 actual, 23 actual, and 24 actual, along with where we are at 25 year to date. Our budget for 25. And then what I am proposing my initial projections for FY26. There's an average increase or decrease after the 24 actual. That is basically a blend of the increase from 22, 23, and 23, 24. So honestly, they're not just numbers, there are themes that make those numbers what they are. So those averages are certainly a guide, but certainly not what we absolutely want to go with. Particularly in property taxes, there was an increase, millage increase from 22 to 23. So obviously, I'm not looking at 11% projection. After this reassessment year, I'm probably looking at 2 to 3% at the max for a property tax increase in revenue. What I presented on that line item for property taxes, the 19 million is basically flat at this point. I don't have enough data to tell me where we're going to come in this year. If we come in right where our budget is, I would probably increase that line item about 2% or $300,000. Licenses is primarily the business licenses from our local businesses and our insurance companies. Insurance companies make up half of that. And some of that is fluctuates from year to year, mainly because of the timing of the year. With our year in the June, the business license cycle kind of overlaps that. So it's not always accrued back on the same year apples to apples.
Can I ask you a quick question on that, please?
Sure.
I see the 3-year average increase. You said that that's 11.6%. Is then the projected for 25, 26? I know you said about 2-3% is what it should be. Are you also equating in there like all of the new construction going on right now? Or you still feel like it's 2 to 3% based on current inventory?
2 to 3% would be what I would probably use, but I haven't looked at usually I would get a CO list, from building inspections and kind of look at that. Obviously, I don't have appraised value on all those properties, like the county will. And they will have those, but they won't have those till later in the year. But if there are some, really larger properties, then I can certainly, make amendments, to that.
And we'll talk about the effect that the TIF growth has in terms of the perception of
Yeah,
right. So a lot of there are a lot of projects going on inside the TIF. So everything that's happening in Sawmill, we don't get in general fund. Any of those improvements go completely 100%, the improvements on that go to the TIF. We had, I think our base is roughly about $11 million. It's in the Midtown TIF. That is going to be our tax base for that section of town from now until, I mean, there's 25 years, 20 years. So that part's not going to grow as far as the general fund goes. We have the same situation in our Oak Brook area. I think our base is 20 million in the Oak Brook TIF. So that is, no matter what's happened there, hospital, I think, has some renovations or plans for expansion. All of that additional appraised value, assessed value, the tax base goes into the Oak Brook TIF.
But like Nexton and things like that, the growth in Nexton that's in the town of Somerville,
Yes.
that would affect.
Yes, yes. So I will take a look at the COs that we issued during the year, because that's really the basis. And, the county has all of that, but we won't get that data from that specific data from the county until.
And if I can make one real quick comment, it's important for you all, council, when you're talking to your constituents and the residents, yes, they see a lot of stuff coming up out of the ground, but you need to make sure they understand that depending on where it is, that is not going to translate into general fund revenue as Rhonda explained. So yes, it looks like we're growing a lot, but when you consider that growth does not accrue to our general fund is not growing in proportion to what you see coming out of the ground. Everybody needs to understand that, because that growth, the revenue that is being generated by that growth is going into other specific projects.
And, that kind of translates onto the other side of our income statement, and that we still have to provide services to those areas too.
Yeah.
So those costs go up, and, even though, TIFs are a good thing, we're spurring development and all those things, there still are caveats. So we have to understand how to manage those. Franchise fees, those are about flat, is the way I presented them. The electric is going up a little bit, but cable TV is declining every year. That's not a big portion of ours, thank goodness, but that is definitely a decline. So I do expect some increase in certainly the electric one, not a lot. Option sales tax, we want to lost anything. We get those revenues from Berkeley County and Charleston County. And I've seen a pretty good increase in the Berkeley County line item, so I feel like that is good. Now, part of that will actually go back to those residents and businesses' tax bill for Berkeley County and Charleston County. We rebate a portion of that back to their tax bill because we're required to. So that helps those residents a lot. So we, for all practical purposes, we only keep about 30 to 40% of that dollar amount as far as free money.
29%. Yeah, to be precise. Yeah.
And just so I'm understanding, the franchise fees, if it's in the TIF, we don't have to keep the franchise fees
No.
in the TIF, right?
It's just real property taxes are the only thing, not vehicles, not anything. Real property taxes are the only thing that the TIF has.
So we should get a lot more from that, hopefully, right? I mean, right now it's kind of even from 24 to 25, 26.
Yeah, I
Should
mean, it'll increase a little bit. I just don't see it increasing as significant.
It depends on the weather, mostly. I mean, now that we've had a temperate, what we call winter here, the electric franchise should go up just a little bit. If we have a cool summer,
Yeah.
you won't see as much.
And I can always reach out and see if they can give me an idea, because what we get paid on, and they usually bring me a check the last week of June. And that's based on their 2024 results. because they get their numbers audited before they write us a check. So unfortunately, know that until the last 13. After our budget is already, so any questions on local options on that? Other state revenue, the major part of that is aid to subdivisions. The legislature generally increases that about 5%. Scott just told me yesterday the number's out, so I'm probably 50,000 short, roughly on that particular number. So that's the primary driver there. Permits and fees, I projected a bigger increase in that this year than I normally do, mainly because of Midtown TIF properties. You know, there all that development there. So that is another revenue generator for the town, is the permit fees, inspection fees that are generated by those properties. SR reimbursement, I just put that on our line by itself because it is significant. Chief Wright and his team have been very good about getting an agreement with the school district and keeping up with our costs. I'm not sure that some years back that we were doing that. So I'm hoping to accelerate that agreement a little bit this year earlier, so we'll know what that is. The 1.3 million that I have proposed for FY26 is exactly what was billed this year, what is being billed this year.
Just for my edification, if I may there, how much that's going back out the door in terms of paying the SROs? Any ideas?
100%.
100%? Okay. Yeah. All right.
It's
So that is,
roughly,
that's a net zero.
is that actually we absorb about 15% in general.
Okay. All right.
It's about 85% of the cost of what we bill school district of the summer months.
Gotcha.
Fuel and something else is not reduced by 15%.
But this 1.3 represents a better capture of the reimbursement.
Yeah.
But we do spend all of that, right,
Oh, yeah.
for that.
That's
Plus
14%.
15%.
So that plus, okay,
There's only one SRO that's paid 100%, the others all paid 70.
Yes, yes. And we do get a stay, I think it's to cover one of them. This we usually pay. Miscellaneous, you can see how that has changed a lot over the years. In 2022 and 2023, we sold property. So that is why those numbers are inflated. That's asset sales, also warrant fees, some small items that are all in that particular item. Recreational facilities, that's had a steady increase as Amy has increased her programming and the things that she's done in our parks and Rollins Edwards Center. So I think you can see definitely increase there. I don't want to get really crazy on projecting the budget increase there and put a lot of pressure on anybody, but that's doing good. Fines and forfeitures is our court system. I think we're going to see an increase this year. I did project an increase for FY26 in previous years. I felt like we kind of didn't exactly know where we were. We had some uncertainties that how things were flowing. So I didn't want to get crazy there. Interest income. So that is a function of the interest rate environment, and I am not going to project that in any way. I don't want to risk taxpayer funds or leveraging that on what I think the interest rate's going to do. I have kept that at 500,000 for our 2025 year to date. I will end up allocating some of that that is in our general fund budget to other funds based on the cash that's held in other funds at the end of the year. I don't do that typically to the end of the year. We'll come out above 500 for this year, but again, I went up a little bit, but I don't really want to go up a lot because I don't know what the interest rate environment's going to be. Most of that is in overnight funds at the state level. It's liquid. We have to manage that well, so that's what that is. And lastly, it's not a core income, but we transferred from hospitality. It increased over the years. I left that remaining at 3.7. may have some, that's based on our income level now from hospitality, that's really kind of about all of the extent as far as that goes. And state accommodations transfer, that is formula driven by the state regulations and laws. I don't put that until the end of the year as well, because it's based on the accommodations revenue, the state accommodations revenue that we receive. But it is somewhere, obviously, between 70 and 75, 78, depending on the level of income. So, as you can see, based on our 2025 budget and our 2026 budget, it looks like an increase of around $3 million. I will remind you that we used a good bit of fund balance, roughly $2 million last year to balance our budget.
Current budget.
Our current budget. So we're close to, if we're going to spend all of the 49, we're close to spending the same amount of dollars. There's not a lot of increase there. I don't know yet to be able to tell you if we're going to really have to use all of the fund balance this year or not. But I try to estimate a little closer, with a little more comfort from the data that I'm getting from our partners at the counties, and some of our other line items to feel comfortable with where we are. Probably the biggest unknown is business licenses. Frankly, if you want to look at what is our risk area, to me, it would be business licenses. You know, I think our economy is strong. I don't see any signs of, certainly in our area, of it decline. But if there's a decline in the economy, you know, we may lose some. But being that half of that is business license from insurance companies, and given the price of houses and the price of insurance, I don't see that decline.
Now, I would add that the risk is in the local business license tax revenue. The tax that we levy on businesses here in town or from out of town working. As Rhonda said, the insurance tax collection programs that are run by the municipal association, those have seen steady increases over the years because, as we all know, all of us are paying more in insurance premiums. As more people come in and build more, more fuel that's going up. That half is probably pretty steady. The local business license tax is what's most susceptible to economic.
So you're looking at 6.5 to 7 million in that one line. So 10%, $700,000 roughly. So if you think about it that way, that would be what the risk. Any questions about any of this?
This year we did $2 million of fund balance transfer, obligated $2 million. So we was about 540.
It looks like we're at 49 million now. So is it actually 3 million more than that, or 2 million more than that? Is that what you were asking?
No, I was trying to just factor in what we had, the 46, I knew we were more than that, because I knew the budget.
Oh.
I think I'm trying to eliminate some of the things that were not incurred like CARTA and some of those things that we're not going to be looking at. We have either an ARPA transfer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then fund balance, because that kind of makes the numbers look long.
So would you want to add the 2 million to 46,922 under 2025? Is that what we're saying? To arrive at 48?
Yeah.
For this year, but
This current year.
yeah, that's still in this fiscal year, but that's still in the 25, where, right, that we're pulling to, okay, and then the, okay.
But the proposed for 26 doesn't have any transfer. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, this is a very confusing time of year, and for me, I feel like trying to finish the FY24 audit, I'm looking in the past, the present, and the future. I missed some numbers, I apologize. So, any other questions about that?
Well, I'll just make a comment. I know you were kind of mentioning the confidence levels of growing in these recommendations and projections because of your experience and what you're seeing. And I'm appreciative of that, but I'm so thankful that you took a conservative approach to how we did things leading up to your confidence, so that we really, from my perspective, put ourselves thanks to Darrell's work, back in a sound financial standing to build from. And I'm just thankful for that. 4 years ago, we were not in that state, and it was very alone. So thank you. Yeah.
Team. Okay, anything else on that slide? Okay, I'm gonna move to the other side. Obviously, you know that,
More than questions. I want to talk about that hospitality transfer just a little bit. We can talk about that later.
okay, we know that, we're a public, service entity, and we serve the public, so our biggest expenditure, obviously, is personnel. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. This is a moving target, this is not. Don't need it. All the department heads that try to get me that information that we need. I wanted to kind of give you just a little bit of a capsule of what we do look like. The number of employees are based on, I think it was the last pay period in January. So, obviously there are changes that happen almost immediately. So this doesn't represent your department exactly, don't be alarmed, but this is kind of just an overview. So I wanted to give you just a look. We have 445 employees is what we're looking at. This is by department. This is the salary cost. Doesn't include overtime. It doesn't include anything like that that may occur from week to week. Overtime is a guess at, it's a educated guess from departments on what they are looking to possibly have to incur. I know in the fire department in particular, we have not increased their overtime budget in a couple of years. And when we increase our pay rates, obviously that is what to affect that. So 900 is what we're kind of estimating for this year. Police department thinks we can remain at 175 for this year. Of course, things happen, but we feel like that's a good estimate.
And excuse me for not knowing, but is that, because it seems typical that in all areas, police and fire get overtime. Is that just because they're limited and like an emergency happens, or is it something like automatic? Is that what it is?
Fire department has scheduled overtime. So I mean, it's actually, there's scheduled hours built into overtime. The fire department. Sorry, people kind of. Don't worry. You got experience in that. The 24-hour shift is the 4 24-hour shifts or 48-hour shifts that they do puts them over automatically over the benchmark of the minimum hours before they get overtime.
Oh.
They're set up on a 56-hour work week as opposed to a 40-hour work week, which is up say fair labor standards. But with the fire department, they go to 106 or 2 week periods, so 53 hours is anything over 53 hours in a work week is overtime.
So then our fire department doesn't have it where it's like a few days on and then like a week off?
They do. That's 2 days. So they work 2 days on, 4 days off. But during that 14-day work cycle, they'll work 120 hours.
Okay.
So that's 14 hours over the benchmark of the 106 where they start making overtime. So
Okay.
it's just scheduling. You had to add a third shift to where you wouldn't hit overtime. Then you're spending money on the third shift, on the fourth shift. To avoid the scheduled overtime, you have to add a fourth shift.
And then you're spending more on people.
That's
Right.
another-
So it's probably
40
better
people.
just to do.
That's another, what, 30.
And I think the biggest thing to understand too is we have minimum staffing requirements. So in order to keep, like sometimes we have to force people to work overtime. We are grateful that we do have a lot of people that step up and take that volunteer, they volunteer for the overtime. I get called from Ms. Rhonda quite often about certain salaries that are going up, but these guys are working, up to 72 hours straight. And these are the single guys that, just trying to, just keep someone else from having to be forced that day if they may have plans. So it is tricky, especially when we are shorthanded. Right now, if you look at it, this number is a little off. We're at 102, so we're down 9 slots. So anytime we're down any slot, especially of a ranked position like a driver or a captain, it's necessary we have to have, is going to drive those costs up as well. So just a little more to
to the public. On the police side, we do have minimal staffing as well, but what you're seeing listed on overtime is for critical incidents where we have to call out a traffic unit to investigate fatality or homicide, or investigators come out for a raid or a search warrant. So that's
Yeah.
what that's gonna
I'm thinking that's just 911 calls and somebody's picking up the shit.
And vacancies are our best guess at this point of kind of what the salary cost is for the vacant positions that we have, in the departments. New requests, those are some of the new requests that, were presented to you a couple weeks ago at our first, budget meeting. So try to populate those as best I could, to get a true idea of what the population of our personnel really looks like.
Will we go back over again what those positions were?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So I have a total for just our salary costs, if all of these things were approved and we implemented all of these, salary costs of just over $28 million. The total with fringe, and we'll talk about what makes that number up in just a moment, is $42 million. So we offer good benefits to our employees. Retirement is part of that. So that is, when you start looking at 42 million, and what did I have on revenue? 49 million?
Yeah.
Our operating expenses last year were roughly, we budgeted about 10 million. So, I was really happy when I looked at revenue projections until I started to work on the side of it.
Yeah.
So also wanted to note that included in these numbers for salary costs are the grant funded or reimbursements from SROs. So we have roughly $1.5 million of salary costs in those other areas. So, when you get to put the numbers together for the general fund, that will kind of come into play and bring some of those totals down.
So that 42 million, will come down.
Right, but I also
Because of
want
the fringe.
to point out, also have hospitality, the CIT grant, and stormwater, which are not considered general fund positions. So those almost 3 million, not quite 3 million, in costs will not be in the general fund.
That's hospitality. Yeah, I'm wondering why, because we've got that under personnel.
So the hospitality funds, Team 6 of our
Okay.
police department, and a couple of our event managers, PIO officers.
CVB, working.
Yeah. So on this preliminary revenue, the hospitality, okay, that's just the transfer in for the hospitality, but a portion of that hospitality transfer is going here to the,
No, in addition to that 3.7 million, we get roughly 6 million in a hospitality fund. So out of that, we directly pay for some personnel costs, plus other things, and then transfer the 3.7 to the general fund. Any other questions on this part? I want to give you a little snapshot of what our fringes look like. And why we're trying to manage some of these areas. Obviously, the biggest item is insurance, and that is health insurance and dental insurance and some of that. $5.3 million townwide. So that is why we're putting so much effort into trying to figure out how we keep that from rising. Very much. I mean, I know it's going to rise from year to year, but we got to try to manage that increase as best we can. But that is a great benefit for our employees because we have good insurance, and if we pay 100% of employee only coverage. So this is that is the biggest item. The next, two other biggest items are retirement. The 4 is for public safety and SCRS for all other employees. And that is $5.7 million per month.
Fortunately, those are maxed out right now, until unless the General Assembly decides that they're going to increase our contributions, employee or employers' contributions. And they'll likely look at that I would assume at some point in the future, to try and close their continuously growing unfunded liability in terms of the amount that they owe out versus what they're making.
Sorry.
Pulling out.
You mentioned, about us going with a new insurance provider. Is that,
No, our insurance provider is gonna stay the same, Blue Cross Blue Shield. What we're doing is engaging with a new broker of record who can do a lot of robust analysis for us and make recommendations, programming changes that we can do internally to improve outcomes for our employees. That's what we are looking to do to, again, minimize the increase in the premium. We cannot, there's no universe in the world except to cut the benefit where we will cut the rate that we are paying now. What we're trying to do is reduce or maintain a small increase in current premiums that we can. So if we did nothing, and these are just made up numbers, if we did nothing, we might face a 10% premium increase. But through our work over this year and the next, maybe that increase is only 7%. That's what we're trying to do. We're not going to cut the premium. That 5.3 number is not going to go down unless you decide to cut benefits, which I will not recommend.
Yeah. so, okay, that sounds good. So they'll give us recommendations and things like
Correct.
that.
It'll take a while. You know, I don't see anything this next fiscal year. We'll see some things though in terms of the results with regard to premium increases and minimizing that. We won't see that until this time next year or beyond.
What have an increase over the last 3 to 5 years? Is it maybe say that 10% a year? No, or y'all there?
That was gonna ask the next thing. Thank you.
This last one was 13.
Oh, wow.
Percent a year over year?
Yes. The year before was 8 and some change.
Okay.
For that, I believe was 11. A lot of that was driven off of our loss experience.
Right.
But also remember in the previous offsite we did, Scott made the point that just the industry alone this year, in conjunction with our renewal cycle, which occurred October 1st, just the industry alone, even if we had fantastic loss ratios, was still 8.3%. So that's just, as you know, healthcare is going up all the time. So, you know, just layer on top of that bad loss experience with a given employer, and those two things together, it creates that upward pressure. So,
And that loss experience is what we are trying to better manage
And,
as an organization.
and loss meaning like injuries.
claims, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
people filing claims, exactly. And I mean, not to digress, but also what we're trying to do with this broker we're looking to go to is these future things, you know, the self-funding type of plan that we want to get to, and creating a clinic, all things that would allow us to capture portions of that premium or get it back, so to speak, or improve those costs, prescriptions and so forth. So,
yeah, and where it says,
On the insurance business, what the broker does is sort of mediate the expenditures and try to get more options to show the spend, the claims, the things. And because of that, you can save enough money to keep up this year to stop the premiums from escalating.
exactly.
The broker that you're using, it seems like an arm of the Blue Shield or is it independent local guy?
He's an independent, Mr. Brown, but he has an excellent relationship with our carrier, with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we think his analysis tools and the staff that he brings to the table will benefit us going forward.
Well, a lot of insurance companies are doing that. My daughter is living with all the time and had a problem with their roofing and they're insured by State Farm. And the State Farm has found the answer to the large premiums. Work out a deal with a someone who comes in has to verify that video, the full video between the homeowner and the company. And that seems to be what we got, it's not getting the carriage out. Because they found, it's got some people that they pick and say, look at these hours, opposed to you just picking up something. So that seems to be what's gonna happen in the future. You gotta work to provide a service. And you gotta have somebody internally who can what's going down, is supposed to go down.
Is that other insurance category, that's medical, dental, what, is that
Yeah, that's
everything?
Yeah, I think that's mainly.
Vision, all of that. Do we have a benefit where it's like more of a wellness card or something that, you know, they have those things now that you can get? It's just, it's not really insurance, I guess. It's something that minimizes the cost for like your normal routine sick visits, not injuries, but do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I mean, for instance, Blue Cross, they do have incentives such as anyone with our coverage through Blue Cross, if they get a physical, there's a list of health generated things, they get a reduction off of their deductible of $125 for each of up to two things. They can lower their deductible that year by $250 total. There are other incentives that we have. I don't know that it's exactly what you're describing, but we are looking with this new broker to get to more things incentivizing visits where they go to trim costs on that, and directed care for larger things like operations and so forth. Getting them done at this center versus another to save on the cost and claims amounts of those.
And during open enrollment period, do we go through and ask them, your department, go through and ask, like, are you a smoker? You know, how often do you drink? Because I know all of that stuff makes a difference. Do we go through and ask that? Or are they going through that process?
That's one of the things that going with this specific broker is they're going to do we do a certain surface level of that, but this new broker will do a deep dive into those things. Actually, after interviewing each department manager, they are looking to go to each individual employee that's covered and really go into detail with that and analyze it.
That's good.
So,
And find the best way to, we want to meet everybody's needs.
Right.
Obviously, but find the best way to do that.
Yeah, I've actually found my old insurance, because I got insurance and I got elected, is actually, for me, better. It covered, my old insurance covered more than this insurance. And I was like, it's government insurance. How do you get better than that? But, and is their cost, what they charge, included in here, the company?
It's
Actually, the carrier of the insurance, we find someone like that, we can help them. Nothing actively do. But, I'm just gonna. The cost.
This is our
Thank
cost.
you, Mr. Brown.
This is our cost. Any other questions? Obviously, there's the workman's comp component.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about the workers' comp component. All the department heads will tell you that I've been beating the drum since I arrived of being safe. Let's not incur workers' comp claims, because that is something that we can control. And as I like to say, every time we have to file an insurance claim, be it a workers' comp or a property damage claim, that's potentially a raise for somebody in the organization. So all of our employees have a stake in operating safely and not incurring insurance claims because that translates into dollars. I think everybody, all the department heads have gotten that message very clearly and are working very hard to reduce claims as much as possible. But as we say in business, stuff happens.
So I guess the key takeaway of those last two slides, really three slides, tell us that 85% of our budget or more are people. People. That's which are the people who do the services, provide services for our citizens. So,
one more question. On that workers' comp, it seems like the police and fire has the highest workers' comp claims. So is there, has an analysis been done that if we do give them benefits after retirement, would that possibly bring down some of the workers' comp? Because maybe they're not gonna be rushing to take care of an issue like before they retire or something like that. You know, I mean, there's so many ways.
A workers' comp claim is
When
only
you
if
get-
someone gets hurt on the job.
Right. But say somebody gets hurt and they're like, oh, my back, it could be, they carry a lot of weight. Their back hurts or something like that. Maybe if they're close to retirement, maybe they're like, I'm not going to do I've got to do my workers' comp claim now because I retire in 2 years. I don't know. I mean,
Workers' comp claims, and Chris, you help me out here, workers' comp claims have to be made within a specific time of an incident that occurs. It has to be a cause that can be documented.
Yeah.
And that cause and the effect are evaluated by our workers' comp insurance company and the physicians. So claiming that, I've had back spasms my entire life, and then a year before I retire, I say, my back spasms were caused by my work. Well, that's not really how the system is set up to prevent that kind of disease.
I know, but it happens. I carry workers' comp on it happens.
It is one of those things, it's a cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And obviously, we have some areas that are more at risk than others, but others are
Yeah, it's my biggest expense in insurance too, as a business owner. I dread that bill so much.
This would be, Chief, what, yesterday, the, officer that was attacked by the dog. And it was on the job, correct? So this is what would cover all of his insurance. Yeah. And we emphasize strongly, we feed it into management, not just department managers, but all supervisors, the importance of filing that first report of injury in the first 24 hours after something happens. Even if it's one where the person who was injured, it was fairly minor and they refused any treatment or anything, or it didn't appear to be any treatment necessary at the scene. So I think if anything, we overly document or err on the side of reporting. And a lot of them end up being, information only or no claim, but it's better to go that way and have it on the books and have that awareness so that it's properly classified and we're aware of it. If something comes up in the future or something is nagging and flares up or gets worse.
And we're so proactive, just so you know, we're the ones that get hurt most. Just put it out
Yeah,
there.
I imagine
But
so.
we got it ingrained into our leadership that we do our best not even to take ambulance rides. We had an officer, he totaled his police car 3 weeks ago, and we drove him to medical center in a police car. We drove our officer who was bit by the dog in a police car. Because it's a $1,200 bill for driving an ambulance. I mean, that's how far deep we're digging in to how we're handling our claim. That's how deep we are on the police side.
Thank you very much. Great job, Bill.
Then you have
And
90
thank you
days.
for the SRO too. That was a big difference for us.
And they have 90 days to let us know. That's it.
No.
anything else on,
We have 2
on
weeks.
that's our dispatch.
Number one.
Yeah.
And now, like Lenny's department now is covered under there too, right? Like IT and stuff like that, or no?
We were going to split IT out, but I kind of didn't want to muddy the water by changing the bunch of different things all at one time.
It's captured under administration.
Right now.
I don't want to try to.
So communications is just like 911 and then IT under administration.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's what it was.
Okay, our next, slide, I'm gonna formally introduce, Kat Hill. She is our grant coordinator, and if you haven't met her, she's doing a great job. We're really lucky to have her on our staff. I wanted her to talk a little bit about the. Yes, certainly.
Are you gonna take a break?
Just,
right.
just a quick,
Yep, we've been in for about 45 minutes, we'll make it a couple minutes.
like, just 2 minutes.
All right, we have everybody back in here. We'll get started again, and you were introducing Miss Cat
Yes.
when we ran out of the room.
I want to introduce you all to Kat Hill. She's our grant coordinator. She's doing a great job. We threw her right into CDBG management. We tasked her with kind of keeping the inventory of all our grants. We're particularly concerned about any grants we have that need matching funds for the town. Really budgeted that. We just found a way to put those in when we need them. But I want those kind of be front and center. That's really all she's going to go over today. But she is going to be actively listening to all of your input and your needs so that when she has, she can locate grants that may meet some of the needs that you're looking for. So, turn over to you.
Good morning, Mayor, Director, Town, and Council. My name is Kat Hill. I'm for the town of Somerville, and just a little background about my previous position. I've worked with the Garden of Legends program for the South Carolina Department of Administration, where I supported 36 offices within the state with grant compliance and program support. In my recent position, I worked for the City of Charleston Housing and Community Development, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and I managed CDBG home and capital funding that we support from the federal government, the housing and urban development. I'm excited for the opportunity to serve residents in the town of Somerville and very committed to securing future funding for the town. Today, we'll be covering the most recent match obligations for program year 2026, what they are, why they matter, and how we can strategically meet them to maximize our funding opportunities. So the first grant is the bipartisan infrastructure law bill established the new State Streets and Roads for All discretionary program with $5 billion in appropriated funds over 5 years. The State Streets for All program funds regional, local, and tribal initiatives through grants to prevent roadway deaths and serious injuries. Cities are eligible for 2 types of grants from State Streets for All. Planning grants support cities in developing or updating a comprehensive safety action plan, and an implementation grant supports cities to carry out projects and strategies identified in an action plan, which will help the town achieve safer, more equitable transportation outcomes. So the goal is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on roads. And I apologize, I don't have the current data, but since 2019, the town has 10 to 15 vehicle casualties. And the focus is going to be to invest in safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and all road users. The town was awarded $240,000 with a local funding match of $60,000. The comprehensive safety action plan will address all high risk and high priorities identified in South Carolina pedestrian and bicycle safety action plan that the Department of Transportation submitted in 2022, with an emphasis on areas with no recently completed or planned projects and work collaboratively with the Department of Transportation. The safety action plan will also identify and address all other high injury, high risk networks in the town. Coordination with the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Government, who have also received federal funding for this development, will be essential to ensure no overlap between the safety action plans. The town has completed an RFP and is currently awaiting grant agreement execution and monitoring official communications from the Department of Transportation around federal grant administrative reviews of the Trump administration. The local match funds can be general funds, dedicated transportation funds, special revenue funds, personnel time, equipment, and materials. Then the second grant is going to be the TAG 2025-2026 grant, Destination Somerville. The town will be applying for the tourism advertising grant, similar to the current 2024 award that we currently have. The estimated TAG 2025 award will be $58,800 with a 50% match, which comes out to $29,400. The match can come from local funds, in-kind contributions such as staff time spent on marketing and promotional work, or resources like local media outlets offering discounted advertising rates. In partnering with local businesses, their contributions towards tourism promotion can also help meet the launch requirements. And lastly, the town of Somerville Central Avenue pedestrian safety project, which is to install 1.1 miles of 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk along Central Avenue. The $400,000 match would be needed to be sourced to combine with the $400,000 award from the Department of Transportation, bringing the total project cost to $800,000. The project is underway and is managed by Bonnie, our Director of Public Works and Engineering Department. And that's all that I have for today.
Well, welcome to Somerville, and thank you. This is, I like the graphic like this, this is not. I had a couple of questions. That first grant, so Berkeley and Dorchester counties also applied for this grant, so they'll be getting funds, and then we work together on a project that DOT has said that is a priority, correct? Okay, and then, is this gonna be supposed to be completed in a certain time frame? Okay, and
This is more of a, diagnosing the problem. This is kind of looking at what do we need?
Yeah, it's an action plan. It's a
This is
safety
the
action
planning
plan,
stage.
and we'll work, the VCD COG is doing it regionally, so we will work with them to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts.
okay,
And they're about 6 months ahead of us in the process. They already have a consultant on board and have their actual signed grant agreement. But yeah, it's actually a plan to identify areas that need work, and then from there you would apply separately for an implementation grant.
well, are they gonna consult with, for instance, our bicycle and pedestrian committee?
So there'll be public involvement throughout the planning process, yes.
And so, well, I'm just going to kind of emphasize the key. This is a step to get additional resources for our bicycle and pedestrian needs, of which we have pretty much very little knowledge for. This will give us access to them.
Yeah, so it will help with the prioritization of what needs.
So we already know we have this for you?
Well, we have to find that.
Yes, y'all already approved it.
Yeah, and that's what, because we have to pay out 60 grand on this. We'll pay 60. And so part of that, they'll look at sidewalks, like crosswalks, or just roads.
No, it's multimodal.
Safe streets.
The way I understand that, once this is completed, then there's an opportunity for us to get continuing grant funding for the actual implementation.
Correct. Yeah, this is not implementation. This is
From the same source.
But to get the implementation funds, we have to have the action plans.
Okay. And do we have an idea of how long this is going to take to put all this information together? Lots of questions, Kayla. Yeah,
Probably about a year.
I mean,
About a year.
Yeah, I mean, generally
About a
most
year.
plans take about 9 months to a year.
And when we sign it, they start like,
Well, so we have the RFP ready, but we're waiting to get the signed grant
We want to make sure things are.
agreement in place before we release the RFP, because we don't want
okay, so we still have to find someone for this.
to, but that's on hold because of federal things.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
the thing we have to keep in mind with these funds right here, these federal funds that we've got, everything up in the air is a question mark. And we're not getting any guidance from the feds on what we can and cannot proceed with. So, what I'm telling you is
They don't know.
any federal dollars or matches that we continue forward with, we could potentially be on the hook for those out of local dollars, not just the match. But we spend, let's say we spent that $240,000 hoping that we're gonna get reimbursed from the feds, I don't know if we're gonna get that money back. So we're having to manage that chaos as we try and move forward with some of the projects. So just keep that in mind, council, but that's what we're dealing with.
But we are moving forward with this, so.
No, we're waiting on the grant agreement to be signed, and the FWS has told us that the reason it's not signed is because of the, lack of knowledge about what's going on with.
We're waiting for
federal
that
budget.
to decide on their end.
We need a commitment from federal government.
And there's nothing we can do about that.
No, no.
Offices that ask them to figure out and provide help with some clarity for all of us trying to move forward. That would be my suggestion.
And then, the grant destination Somerville for what specifically is that? For Parks and Rec, or no, Somerville.
That's basically tourism, and it's a match from, the state, and Parks and Rec. And we fund most of that 29 out of hospitality.
Okay, but I guess what is it, the destination Somerville, what does that mean?
Chamber's been doing it for us.
Yeah, we
advertise. Okay, so we just give that money to the chamber.
Chamber, yeah.
Well, they
And they've been,
suggest what we should spend those things on.
and we
We
approve.
run it through Chris just to have a
Yeah.
town set of eyes on it too.
Just to make sure we kind of see
That we
if
agree.
it's a beneficial actual avenue to spend.
Yeah, and that's like that chamber presentation we went to, this is kind of.
Yeah, that's the board manages that.
My second brother, I'm getting there, I'm figuring it out.
Any other questions about the grant funds? So you'll see some of these numbers again whenever we start talking about spending, which is what we're gonna start talking about now. So y'all all have had now the department budget requests items since January. These slides to you again. So what I want to do now is two things. I want to lead you through an exercise to identify those things that the departments have requested that are of importance to you. And all of your ideas individually about what is in front of you and has been for a month or so now onto a list. And then if we can, we'll try and reach some consensus, which I hope should be pretty easy. And we'll take this list and these suggestions and use that as a guide to bring to you budget numbers for these things beyond what you have already. But more importantly, the things that you agree to send us off to study more closely, we want to bring to you pretty realistic and close as we can numbers to start our spending, our spending plan. And then after we go through that exercise, I want to lead you through an exercise to identify qualities that you have that aren't in these documents, so that we can, as a staff, get some guidance and a sense of where you want us to go, not necessarily in the next fiscal year, but in fiscal year 27, fiscal year 28, and beyond. Okay? And my hope is that we can get those things done by noon and get you out and on to the rest of your day and the rest of the week. Any questions about that?
So can we, like, is this like we get up and we go around and ask the department heads or?
No, here's what we'll do. Let me tell you how it works. Everybody's got a pen and paper, right? So when I say go, I want you to write down all of the things that are in those department requests that you've been studying for the last month. I want you to write down on a piece of paper those things that you want to talk about, those things that you would like to see thrown up onto this piece of paper. Okay? It's going to take about 5 minutes to do that. But then it's a little more complicated.
Yeah, because I might need like 10 minutes.
Well, you get 5. You get 5. What I'm going to do is, what we'll do is go round robin. Everybody will, one at a time, give us one of your items until we exhaust your list. And then I'm going to challenge you to explain to me why you think it's important
that thing go onto the list. Because if you can't explain it to me, then you might have trouble explaining it to your constituents and residents when they ask you why that's important. And I think you need to be able to explain it. And I'll challenge you if you're having trouble, and we'll all help you. And that includes questions from of the department heads and the staff that are here. So everybody understand? When I say go, start writing. Ready?
Just one at a time, right? We're not doing the whole thing.
The whole thing.
I can't do this whole thing in concept.
You just try. Just try. Just try.
Your top priorities.
Yeah.
let me go through this real quick, before we get started. If you had, the communications associate position on your list, you can take that off. Mikowski and I have worked out a solution that we're gonna attempt in-house, within the current budget that we hope will be successful. So, he has withdrawn that request. I apologize for not telling you that in advance. If you go over to the sheet labeled Fire and Rescue Department requests at the top, the reserve aerial ladder truck, we're gonna do that this year, not in the coming fiscal year. We have the funds to be able to do that this year. The planning department requests. Jesse's asking for $150,000 for two, the comp plan update and the impact fee study capital improvement plan. You don't need to list those because we gotta pay those. So there's no point putting that on the board. We'll do that for you. The emergency communications department request, the Sawmill Branch Trail cameras. We have put in an earmark request for that, and we are hopeful and pretty confident that Representative Murphy and our legislative delegation will be able to fund some portion of that. So you can put that on the board if you'd like, if you want to talk about committing town resources to that, and that's great. But otherwise, we're hopeful that an earmark will cover some portion of that. Okay. So those are some of the things that we have taken care of already, and we expect there's no need to necessarily put those up on the board. Okay. Everyone has their list. Why don't we start with you? Give me your first item on your list.
New position, for technical services supervisor.
That's in the.
IT.
Oh, not IT. Okay. Why do we want to do that?
Just what I said. Because I think that a lot of this other stuff can't be done until we get the new person, because we've got so much that we're doing right now. That third person is really
good. That's great. Bob, what's your first?
Police officers.
Oh, and you're on this page.
No, we're going one at a time.
Oh, Ron jumping around. Oh, what? We can't do a page at a time?
No, we're doing it, jumping all around. What about your police officers?
The four police officers, we just need to safety. People are going up, people are crazier.
So am
Safety.
So am I supposed to do one out of this whole packet or
Well,
one
you
from
can
the
just
thing?
get there on board as you want.
Oh,
Just start with the first one. Start with, yeah, you can go through the whole packet. You can name everything on that packet if you want to. Or you can just say, throw the packet up there.
Okay.
You want to skip you and come back?
Yeah, because I want to do one page at a time.
it's not by order, but it's people,
Yeah.
What's on your list?
thing on the list is, the new district IT, technical services.
Okay, good. That's already up there. If one of yours is already up there, then go to your next one.
Okay.
Do you have your next one?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The next thing I had was, the building department, surplus number $35,000. Federal highway and purchasing for.
Are we
Let
gonna,
me ask you a question. I understand that request, surplusing that car is, and the other, yeah, and purchasing the next one is being triggered by the need to hire another code enforcement officer. So, Rebecca, you correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't hire the new code enforcement officer, we don't necessarily need the new car, or is that?
Just for the purpose of
and you're gonna put up Matt's to request on
Yes,
that?
yeah,
So that's
So is that new vehicle for the new person?
It is the new business.
Okay. So if we don't hire a new person, then we don't need to.
I look at it as a replacement vehicle.
Right, yeah. Is it, it's not, do you want a replacement vehicle, Rebecca, or? Okay.
Well, we've got like 4 in the basement that stay there all the time.
Okay. So you gonna leave that up there, Rich?
Yeah, it's a replacement vehicle.
Okay.
I would support it as a- Just, I know our vehicles get 15, 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I'm with you. Perfect, okay. Mr. Brown?
Well, a couple of things on the, police concern.
Okay.
Any found security software, security operations. And also.
Directly townwide. Those 2 things you mentioned are townwide. Okay, so not just public safety. It's all under administration. Okay, those are on the administration side. Those are me. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
The items on the list, under finance.
Yep.
Incentive pay and training budget. And I understood that to be townwide staff. Is that correct, or is that just your staff?
That's just my staff, but
I think it should be townwide incentive pay. And that's based on securing additional certifications, you know? And expanding training budget. 85% of our budget is people, reducing turnover, improving retention, allowing for our folks to be better, directly impacts the taxpayers. If we're creative in this zone, we may be able to retain staff, have less turnover, which in turn adds value and improves our service to our constituents. IT, that whole slate under the administration's department request because of our cyber attack. I just want to make sure everybody knows that that was on the top of my list as well. But item C, items not seen, we're going to talk
We're gonna
about.
talk about items not seen in a little bit.
Pesticide technician.
Well, hang on, it's not your turn.
Oh, it's Kim's turn.
Hold on. I didn't go yet.
Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Are you ready for your first? I'm ready. I know you are.
Well, we're doing 1 page at a time. So, let's start with the administration department. So for the first page of the IT, I was 2 items. Can I give you 2 for that page?
Sure.
The security software and end user training, I think that's important with the cyber attack we had and implementing additional software and the training for that. And then it says possible grant through SLED, so that's always a definite, you know. And then the Converge network support with the police department, I don't know what that is exactly, but anything that's combining networks with the police department and IT, I think is a good idea for streamlining.
Converge is a third-party company that helped us do the public safety side. We just put that in there because we don't assume we may need support from them and we may not, but we have to put it in the budget. We don't have any more unbudgeted things. Tiffany, is there anything on that page you do not want to include on the list? I guess that may be easier because you're listing a good number of them. I just want to make sure that there's something on there you do not want to put on the big board.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. You ready?
I think, I'm looking here.
For any of the pages, any item on any of the pages that you are interested in.
Yeah, the one thing I wouldn't be interested in is that voice over internet, that IP phone system, I think, I wouldn't want that.
All right, good enough.
Okay, the new engineering technician position.
Yeah.
Because I think that in order to get things done faster, we needed a new person in there to pretty swamped with what they have.
And I'll say that that is something that Matt emailed, we get support for as well. So that's good to know. Okay. Why do we need this? Why do we need this new? Don't listen to mine, you tell me. Why do we need this new tech position?
Because they're swamped. They have a lot of work to do and not enough time to do it in. So we need a new person in there to help them.
Okay. Fair enough. Now it's your turn, Bob.
Pesticide technician, we don't have a choice, ours is retiring, and this is 6 months in advance, so we can get training, because that is a highly certified position because of the chemicals that we work.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna pay for it. The building and codes department, I guess, I think there needs to be additional staff training, for sure, I feel like that would be helpful. It seems that way, maybe different ways to work with the public, and, I think so additional staff training, computer hardware, so always, if there's an upgrade that we can do to make things work faster, easier, save time, resources. And then the citizen serve position,
Yep.
I think there's other ways around that with AI and technology today, but I do think that citizen serve, I would person over the code enforcement person, just because I want to find ways to work with people, instead of trying to hire someone to penalize people. Maybe the citizen serve could help bring awareness.
So I'll speak to that real quickly. We're efforting that right now.
Yeah.
We have hired our concierge, who's starting next week. China will be starting on staff. I've talked to Donnie, I've talked to Rebecca, Mikowski, others. Training not only China in all things citizen serve, but also cross-training Miranda in our administrative office to be the backup. So we're making moves in that direction, but I really thank you for that.
And one thing I wouldn't want to do, I think surface in a vehicle is great, but there's not really hardly any time that I don't see 4 or 4 explorers in the basement of the town hall. So I feel like, and they're new and look great, so I feel like one should be given the building and codes department.
All right. Richard, it's Richard's turn, Mr. Brown. Or unless you had a question.
Yeah, we got something. I want to get second to the function.
That's a 3-year commitment. Okay. Right. Yeah, of course. Okay. Mr. Brown.
Part of this, I think, we need
Okay. I know that we have the earmark request in for the sawmill safety. Yes. I think it still needs to be on the list, because we may have to finish that after we get closer. So we need to be thinking about it. We do secure that funding. Okay, good. Okay. We're going to work on this. Okay, I have police and fire. Yeah. Together, it's vitally important, but the lease, of course, you already talked about the fire truck, but the vehicle lease. starting that program, it actually sounded like it would be a reduction in some of our capital expenditures. But if we don't test it, we won't see how good it is. To me, it could be capital funding cost savings. It provides more money, so I want to try that.
The enterprise lease program, the enterprise cars lease program.
And then I had the fire truck on, and then personnel, the one you already.
Oh, yeah.
And then, personnel requests, I think we need to read that, from our chiefs.
Okay.
To vote.
Brian, you got one?
Well, one of the police, general budgetary request for your company.
Yes, sir.
That one's already up. And, it's something. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Richard?
The replacement 2001 pickup truck for the Parks Department.
You just go ahead and put both the trucks.
Yeah, I mean, the truck replacement for the Parks Department.
You gotta say, don't we have to say why, I mean, just say.
Well, I wasn't chief discussing, but we're looking at 2001 and 2006
Yeah.
trucks that we're replacing, so I'd say we got a value item.
Yeah.
Figure out how we can. That's something we can incorporate into that enterprise plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I assume they're not real friendly to other vehicles.
So we want our policy to be, we want to, practice policy, whatever you want to call it. Past practice has been run a vehicle into the dirt.
Yeah.
And then basically give it away and buy a new one. We want it. Peter Tyler point, we're going to get some value out of the vehicle. Put into a new vehicle, and that's kind of a.
And that's actually part of the enterprise fleet, system. That you don't get to that point where there's value less, you get something back. So, but that enterprise fleet system is not just for police, right? We can use it for anything that's, not necessarily specialized like fire truck,
Or tractor.
Unless you get a higher residual value, more vehicles that are not emergency vehicles, because they don't have all that, everything like that. That's right. Yeah.
All right, Tiffany, next week.
So the next is the finance department, and one, I feel like the ACH platform for payment processing, I think that'll make things a lot easier to integrate into finance software. And then, the increased training budget to improve software knowledge, because I think that would include like things to make their life easier, certain software, AI tech, all of that can make their life a lot easier and quicker.
Bob?
I had a question on the cash flow engagement though, with our financial advisor. Is that something that can make us money?
So it is, so right now, in the interest rate environment we're in, short-term rates are okay. But at some point, we're gonna need to manage the fact that we need some long-term investment.
Right.
That is not my area of expertise. So I would like to be, to start, with the interest rates, they're gonna change at some point. That was my thought on that, is to get David Cheekwood to help us put a model together, to help us manage that.
That's not gonna be a big cost to us since
Yeah.
we're already engaged with them, but certainly that's something we wanna.
So, I mean, that could potentially make us money, so I would say probably not to.
I'm making up to cover his fee.
Yeah, come on, right. Right. So we'll just call that a wash, right?
First responder, because it can get there and start viewing the scene before police or fire can, such as somebody running from a burglary, or in case of a fire, they know how many trucks to send instead of somebody getting there and say, we need 4 more.
Very good.
I was adding to the finance, budget, book software, is along with ACH platform and everything else.
Do we have the software already and it just needs more training, or we don't have anybody?
It's us and Excel.
Oh my gosh, I thought we had software, that's why I said additional training.
We have financial software to our book. We don't have budget software necessarily.
Right.
We just create it all.
Oh, that's right.
And I did want to ask a question for Parks and Rec. Do you have all this stuff in a priority list? I mean, is it not on there? 1 to 19?
1 to 5 is high priority.
Oh, I see.
It's kind of, some could go above another, depending on, your interest and.
Okay.
What you like to pursue. 1 to 5 is,
That information in hand, Mayor, let this side rest and.
I was on the Parks side, I thought therapeutic programmer, maybe really helpful. We have a closed section of our committee, I think they, yes, to be a part of things.
It's about therapeutic.
I can't trust this, I mean, what she said.
Yeah, just, I just.
THERA.
But that attachment in that email, I want to do that.
Your work.
And then from their capital assets, so the vision plan is completed. I feel like we need to focus on our existing facilities and the renovations and improvements to our existing facilities before we expand. Our assets. So, yeah, there were several items on there. I would work to prioritize what we need to do to maintain and update our existing facilities. So several lighting requests, parking lot, those types of things that need to get done. We need to take care of our current assets before we add to. Okay. Mr. Brown?
Police recognizing that we have
Okay. All PD personnel reports, good. Richard?
That's beyond, what we don't get the Legion back.
What's that actually on the communication?
That's on the CIP refresh, so we just get part of it.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
So this will be continuing that?
That's a continuation.
This got to go on forever.
Yeah.
One in each car.
Can we say second half of the refresh, is that fair?
It's like, you just say. Yes, sir.
That's another one of the multi-year commitment.
Probably just need to put that in a recurring.
It's like 20%.
I want to clarify something. The community service, person that you want, how would that person not be with the police department?
So they would be, and I was explaining this year, we find young men and women who are under the age of 21, probably 18, 19, 20, who were maybe more law enforcement or fire sports. And what they would do is they'd be in a pickup truck with, much like you see the step trucks that TSC has. They have gasoline, generator, they have stand by a car crash. They can go to crimes that have already occurred, such as cars have broken into. They can go to that car, pick the car, and the officer to stay out on the road. Charleston City, North Charleston, Berkeley County, Mount Pleasant, they all have them. We talked about 5 years. No, sir.
Tiffany, your next one.
I'm on fire rescue code, so The recruit school coordinator, is that gonna be for all of some of the fire department or just one station?
This is the whole department. Any new incoming, members for our department, that we will, it will be the recruit school coordinator for them. So a brand new school, whether it be 10 to 15 recruits, or if it's a fast track program, which is a smaller number of recruits.
But in between that, they're doing other things.
Oh, yeah, they'll be training the guys on the floor as well. So
Okay.
they're gonna have 22.
So since that's already up there, I would say, in the ladder truck part's already up there, right?
Well, that's,
Yeah,
we're
that's-
going to do that this fiscal year.
Then I would say for the fire rescue, a second set of bunker gear.
That's already up there.
Okay. And then the therapeutic programmer, is that going to be for, just, can you explain that a little bit?
So they're all for programs and events catered to the special needs community. Social works, things like that.
We have those things being done now, which is awesome, but you're saying you're doing it, you want it as a help, right?
We don't do it currently. I think the only inclusive of therapeutic offerings that we have currently are the two dances.
Yeah,
The
okay,
rest of them will be on our activity.
and that's a full-time position,
That's already up here.
therapeutic clinic.
Yeah.
Well, then there's nothing on Parks and Rec, because pesticides up there too. So the capital, Parks and Rec capital request, there's a lot on here, I think I agree with Mr. Mayor, I mean, there's a lot on here that I feel like our visioning plan, because there was that email I sent y'all last night with a whole bunch of items, Parks and Recreative, that are not on here. So are we going to address all those things? So,
No, because we ain't got the money. We will prioritize the thing. If we can come to some consensus on these things, then we will prioritize them with Amy's request and move towards them. But all of this is going to be limited by the dollars that we're going to have available, which will be a lot less than it may appear to be.
Right, so, then how was, so you're basically saying there's no money to do any Parks and Rec?
I'm not saying that, I'm saying that we need to prioritize, we need to all agree on the things that we want to prioritize to fund. That's what this exercise is about, is to try and get down to a list of things that you definitely want to do so that we can try and find dollars for those things.
Okay, well, I would say on here, the skate park, people have been asking for that for a very long time. I think if the Cuthbert Center was done right, we could bring in income for that, which we need more income, so.
Hold on, is that on the list?
Yeah.
600,000.
Right, so I would say those two things, but there's a whole lot of other things.
There's a lot more to do than
Did y'all read my list this morning?
We'll give you your list and then finish this part.
All right, that's,
Yes, the one-day cab tractor for streets.
We got two more.
Yeah,
We got two more.
that's the next on my list.
Okay, now you gotta do what I want.
All right. Yeah.
I was gonna
Hang
say,
on, there it is all. Yeah, right. Can't walk and shoot them. John, you got 2 more minutes for this part. All right.
I was gonna say the 19, regular vigilant license plate readers. Do we not have anything like that right now?
So we did-
Oh, okay, this is just
I want to
additional.
fill the holes where we don't have,
Okay,
where people can get through it.
all right.
Yeah. Bob, your next one?
The Jessen picnic, it's unsafe, needs tore down. It's at least 3/4 full. almost 24 hours.
Which one was that, Robin?
Jetson Boat Landing, it's a picnic pavilion that's rotten.
Okay.
And, there is a bunch of old men that is their day.
All right. It seems like we're getting ready to put everything that's on that list up here. So, and I understand it's all a need, but just, we're gonna prioritize these things in 3 minutes. So just remind you that.
Can I,
Yes. Tiffany.
So I'm on the emergency communications page now, so, I think the coverage from the walking biking trail in its entire length starts,
Sawmill Branch Trail cameras?
no, lights too, light poles.
Yeah, well, lights and cameras, yeah, that's safety thing, but I think that.
But it's the middle one, right? I'm looking at the middle one, not the. Okay.
Is that?
Because there was 3 on that page, there's one just for the trailheads, one for the walking biking trail,
Oh,
and then one for the trailheads and the walking biking.
So we put in the whole 5.2 million under the earmark. Okay, it doesn't include lights, there's not lights in that, it's just.
But this says lights.
I don't think lights are included in that, are they? It's just cameras.
Yes, cameras.
Yes, just cameras. Lights is,
Sites.
there's solar panels. The cameras are, yes. The park is, Sawmill Branch Trail is closed at night, so we're not lighting it.
Sites, not lights.
Yeah, that's,
They're at sites.
Oh.
125 pole sites.
Oh, I see. Then I'd say it's entirely.
right.
Robotic lawnmower, one for Amy.
Is that on the list?
Yes.
Okay.
It will speed things up because somebody can just control it. And I, for a long time, wanted to see if we might be able to take over mowing our entrance at 199. And because it's on that slope, you can't physically do it. And I've seen traveling, robotic mowers doing that, and that could save us that would actually pay for itself to do that.
I'm ready.
I put this in our order if I could. Richard, would you want to recruit that?
That's 450. That's the 402 work truck. Two personalities, personal jobs.
I'll put the Lincoln Playground, see what comes up on priorities.
Mr. Brown, you got anything left?
Street department, that first one, they want. That should be.
Something that's critical, I think we haven't addressed yet under emergency communications, is the 2 swing shift dispatchers. Making sure we have fresh folks in there that aren't getting burned out. I think so. And then on the street side, there's some low hanging fruit that I think will create a much nicer space for them. So the nice machines is critical for folks who work outside. It's not working, nothing more disappointing than that. And I know it seems like a small thing, but it's a huge, retention.
How much does that cost?
11 grand.
You got it?
You ain't got $11,000?
Well, that's why I put that in there initially when we started, but I think I've actually got it enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's, you can get,
You can get a person working outdoors.
Yeah.
And not,
you can get a nice upgraded one to
and
go
then their uniforms, they're our forward facing folks in a lot of ways. We gotta make sure they have good uniforms taken care of.
And the
There
other,
are ambassadors out there. Training's already covered under.
On the Sunderland Police Department page, on the,
Sorry, it's okay. We're just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tiff.
I feel like she made a presentation to us about this, the replacement lease cost. So that would mean we'd surplus everything we have and then we go to this lease program, right?
And you would surplus, X 30 vehicles the first year, 20-some vehicles the next year, 27 vehicles next year, and then, so you're getting that money back into the general fund.
And then I thought, didn't you say, show us how this would save money?
Yes, ma'am.
Because what, now
The
we're
first year, it would be like
replacing.
600,000, it's going to 2.2 million. The second year would be like 750,000 to 2.2 million. The third year would be like 900 something thousand instead of 2.2 million. And then by the time you're year 5, you're at 2.3 or 2.6 somewhere million, and you're just hitting that in year 5. And now I've sold the first year of lease cars and all the 164 other cars that you have in the fleet. So it's a total refresh in 5 years.
And we're spending total, what, 3 something right now?
But on cars?
Yeah, cars and maintenance.
Oh, yes, with maintenance and everything, we're over 3 million.
But is maintenance covered in this lease plan?
So it's covered for vehicles that are non-pursuit rated. So if you've got parks and playgrounds, and you've got buildings, and you've got streets, and they bought trucks and all that, you can have maintenance covered under that for 5 years, 100,000 miles. And our vehicles, it does not cover the maintenance, but it lowers the maintenance cost because they're newer vehicles, lowers the fuel efficiency, and the same because they have, guidance, the cameras that keep you on the road. So there's 3 features that will obviously make it, so we spend about $193 a month per car in maintenance. It'll go down to $91 per month.
And we're getting all that money back, plus then we turn the lease in and.
Return in year 5, we'll be selling the year 1. And you don't want to do 5 years, you want to do 6 years, we can do 6 years. You want to do 7 years, do 7 years. If you want to do 5 and you want to stop it at 3, you can do that.
The flexibility in that program allows us to lease as many at a time for as long as we want or as we can afford.
Well, this was year 1 for 30, so we would then sell 30.
We would sell 30,
And then,
they've already identified which 30 they are too. They already know based off of wear and tear and mileage and.
so for me, I mean, math-wise, 453,000 for 30 vehicles, and we sell 30, I mean, the math sounds like it works out, so that would be the one I would choose.
All right, it's on board.
And then the license plate, and then streets.
No,
Y'all are done?
You done?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Jimmy, you haven't said anything.
I think everyone's on the list.
Good.
Something already.
Great, wow, that's great. Bob, did you have something else?
Not right at the moment.
So the street.
I was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like you can pay for that.
I feel like these guys, like, they've been there a long time, most of them, and they know what they're doing. I think there's a lot more they could be doing, like, sidewalk connections and crosswalks. I think they could be doing if they had more help.
Who are these guys?
I'm sorry, streets department.
Okay.
I think that those are little things, little sidewalk patches, crosswalks, they can do with more help, and they just don't have the manpower, so I definitely feel like they need more staff.
Yep, I got them right here.
And then he presented something to us early last year about saving money with the yard debris thing, and I guess we decided against that now, right?
Definitely put it off a little bit longer. It's gonna have to happen,
Yeah,
whether it's this year or next year, but, we talk about funding, we're looking at, little piece of equipment costing over 300,000. At least to get started.
yeah.
Mark, which is that? What are you talking about?
So I'm assuming she's talking about the yard debris pickup, the bagging and bundling.
Oh, gotcha.
And instead of having eventually we'll go from a 5 crew to a 2 crew.
Right.
With 1 vehicle instead of 3 vehicles out there. But it's initial upfront money that's going to hit you hard and before you can get the savings.
But it would require residents to bag and bundle.
Yes.
Versus putting all their stuff in. I want that, but I mean, it's not on here, so, I mean,
The Kubota RTV pesticide vehicle. Yeah,
Parts of that?
yeah, and I assume that would be so both of those guys can work separately.
If you only have no vehicle, then they end up riding around together and we're just paying somebody to ride.
And then on the streets department, they need additional training. I think it'll help with workers' comp claims and everything else. So I think that should be a definite too.
Yeah, we're working on that already. Okay, we're almost done for this part. Don't keep you on time. Anybody else got anything that's burning what you want to put over the board? Off the list, yes.
Yeah.
Not off your personal list, we ain't got there yet. We're gonna do it. Okay. So.
I'm really.
We should have numbered that 1, 2, 3.
We should have put one for each department up there.
Oh, sorry. The IT. You may do that? I mean, because that was 1, and that was 1. We put them in order, right? I usually do that, man. Number 2 is. Yeah.
Yeah, but these are all different departments.
Yeah. This is for sheet reference. When it came to mind.
All right, and now, and we're gonna talk about like actual capital improvements, right? Like total plan.
Come on, girl, come on.
Here,
Good for you. Now.
now we just go through and list our items.
Well, let's do this real quick. What up there should not be up there? Strong feelings. This is not how I usually do that as part of the exercise.
Well, we didn't include Matt's, y'all, and he sent every one of those included.
He had one that's not, he had one from the list that he said he did not want, but it's up there. Matt did not want the additional
Code enforcement.
building code enforcement.
I didn't either.
All right, so let's do it this way. All right, here's one. We're gonna take this list, staff. One. We're gonna take this list. The rest of us are going to try and figure out what we can afford and what we can't afford based on the revenues that on this projection right now. And then we're gonna bring that back to you. Okay, we're gonna bring that to you in March as a part of our budget discussion in March. And you will then have a good sense of what we can and cannot afford. And that will give you another opportunity to prioritize. We will send this list to you, all of you, so that you can study it between now and, how do you usually do this? Finance committee meeting for a budget meeting, or do we have another meeting? Another meeting. So we'll have another budget meeting specifically for the budget in March. And then we will work on pairing this list if we have to.
While we are here now, could we just poll the council members when Kimma comes back? And just put how many people think something is important? This is not a vote. It's just interest.
So let's do it this way.
Well,
Hold on. Let's do it this way. Do we want to go down the whole list, or if I give you 5 points? If I gave you 5, all these cost $1. If I gave you $5, where would you put your $5? You put all $5 on one, or you can spread out your $5.
I'll kick a bunch together. Police and fire, those things are our primary function. So I would put them first.
let me ask. So is there going to be any capital budget money for anything else other than this?
We don't have a capital budget.
But that's what we're doing, we're creating one, that's why what we've been talking about.
We want to create it, we would love to set aside some money into a capital fund. But how much that is, and how often we can put it in there, and then where we spend it, spending's not the problem right now, we know where we got to spend it.
So y'all probably,
The issue is where we're gonna find how much do we want to put in to a capital budget to start with?
and that's not even on, that's not
No,
taken
it's
into
not.
account.
Because right now, we're looking at what we have, they're just ballpark, so nobody's taken by surprise. What we said the other day, $3 million? No. But between the capital fund versus what our additional revenue is going to look like. So we know that we have, what do we say?
So where's underground utilities and?
Those are gonna be, we're gonna do those next. We're gonna get, now, we're working off the list, we're working off the list of the department heads right now, the department heads who need to. So we can poll ourselves right now, it's not a vote, we're just polling, it's a vote, but it's not a vote.
Why don't you let them go up and mark?
Well, that's what we're gonna do, yeah. I'm gonna give you $5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you $5. Each of these things cost $1. You put all $5 on one thing, or you spread them out?
Are we really only gonna get 5 from all of that to fund?
Just for right now, you got
Top
five slashes,
Okay.
or 5 checks, whoever goes first, put your 5 checks out.
How about everybody go at the same time so you're not watching what everybody's doing?
Yeah.
Yes. That's the way. There you go.
One mark at a time.
Don't be influenced by others.
Entry. We have some.
You can sell them, but you
Bribes? Yeah, right, that better, right? Do you know what that is?
One mark next to it. Only 5, everybody. Don't cheat, because you've got the same.
Could be an income source.
Check plus numbers.
I let us try to know that. It was all the same about.
You know it saves us money.
Absolutely. It saves us up front money. I don't remember where they are. We had three. Yes.
No, but it's not a.
Oh, okay. Check on the hours. Oh, right, he's already told that. He was like,
I know the fire, like,
checks down. Give us a.
I'm gonna do the pesticide test in my spare time. Amy, I'll take over the pesticide. I'll learn how to do it and I'll just come do it in my spare time.
I don't think we want.
Mr. Brown, did you do yours? Mr. Brown, did you do yours? Russ, did he do his?
Mr. Brad, would you go over that? Put your checks. If my checks can get, that's the same, put them all in the same one. That's the first one.
If we want to, like you said, we want to go look at some of that.
Okay, just
He cheated. That's just such a. It's hard, yeah.
Yep, I mean, at least this gives them the things at the top, 5 things at the top.
Right.
And by the time it was nice and quiet.
This next round, let's talk about it.
It's usually my attachment. Yeah. Who was that? Time for you.
He's like, he sees how that's gonna be to rain us.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I just want to make sure you're writing checks we can't cash.
Yeah. Right.
Some capital part, I'm like, what?
Did you do that?
See, lots of colors up there. I like it. That's helpful to us all. Staff, we will take this back. Also, we will send these items to you by the end of this week. What's up here on the list and those things that you have identified as priorities for one or more of you. And then we will use this to help draft our first draft of the expenses especially. You've seen what the revenue projection is right now. We'll get more detail on that March revenue, but expenses are going to be the most difficult. Yes, ma'am.
So out of that 10 million roughly that we have left on the outside of employee costs, roughly out of employee costs, we have about 10 million.
So I would tell you, no, we don't have $10 million. We have $10 million. There's a delta of $10 million between personnel and our revenues. However,
Yeah, that's right.
of that $10 million, we already have lots of operational expenses that are recurring that you have to deduct from that. So that we're going to the net additional money that you will have to spend is, if I had to ballpark guess it, it's probably going to be less than $5 million.
And
Well under $5 million.
that's going to be all of that plus all of our personal things that we have.
I can't give you any assurance that hardly any of this will be.
And, okay, now what about then the public safety complex?
That's a whole different ball of wax. And we'll talk,
That's TIF fund.
we're gonna talk more about the public safety complex and our financing scheme. We'll talk to somebody about that. You wanna talk about that finance committee next month? We'll give you a rough draft of what our finance scheme looks like for the public safety committee. We're still working with David Cheapwood, our financial advisor, to refine some numbers and some scenarios. But the public safety financing could have an effect on our general fund budget. Present that to you, but that's not until fiscal year 27 at the earliest, right? I think. Not this fiscal year, not fiscal year 26. 27 is when we'll have to be. Next year, this time, we'll have to be making some serious plans for how to fund the public safety complex. Is that fair, Rhonda?
Yes. Okay, but in the hospitality transfer money that is on this revenue summary, that's what we funded the police barriers for this last week, right?
The accommodations.
No,
tax.
accommodation.
The local accommodations tax.
Local, not state. So, and that's not on this revenue summary, our local accommodation summary.
Okay,
Why is that?
now, let's move on
Let's do it.
to y'all's personal priorities. Do the exact same thing. Ignore that's on, well, I guess you can use this list if you want to. Take 5 minutes. You've already got yours written down, so
Yeah, y'all seen my
You can
long
take-
email.
you can take a break. If you want.
Thank God.
Anybody else need a couple? Okay. Let's take 5 minutes.
And hey, if y'all wanna look at my list, then I'll.
Let's take 5 minutes for a couple breaks. All right, council. Let's do the exact same thing we did. We're gonna prioritize a little bit differently. When we get to that point. What I want you to do now is take the next 5 minutes. And if you haven't already, write down all the things that aren't on those department requests. Write down all the things that you want to see the town of Somerville do. Program wise, capital wise, project wise, personnel wise, you name it. Write down all the things that you want to see and discuss with your fellow council members as to why we ought to do these things at a time. Then we will, at the end, prioritize those things, not with no necessary guarantee of any action or funding, but at least give us, yourselves, and the staff a sense of the future direction in particular that you want the town to go. Is that clear? So take 5 minutes, no 5. Let's go to 11:30-ish. Write down everything that you want, and then we'll talk about it in the end. Write it down. Write it down. Okay. That's all right. All right. So when we get to you, Bob, you can tell us.
Yeah.
All right. So start. Yeah. So now, let's go. So everybody's ideas up here, we'll do the same way, round robin. can. Richard, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, this is pretty easy. I don't want to outdo my abilities, so, there's something I'd like to see us develop. This isn't even a capital, expenditure, but there's a capital efficient plan if we wanted to have one. Rolling capital. Plan. Sound wide.
And that's the rolling stock assessment?
Rolling stock, yeah, not so much of, buildings and things like that. But those are things that, we don't call them reoccurring, but they are reoccurring, sure. And the other thing is.
Well, hang on, one time.
One time.
Wouldn't the lease spent program, just for please?
Mr. Brown, what's your first one?
First one, I think we should study it at affordable workforce.
So like a housing authority, that's what that is.
Outstanding. Well, let's not limit ourselves to one particular solution. Let's put the concept. Man, what's your question?
Since the vision plan is underway, I know that a lot of what people expect of us will come from there. However, we have gaps in our sidewalk network and crosswalks that aren't in certain places. I would like us to have a prioritized approach to closing sidewalk gaps and adding crosswalks for the pedestrian safety. In the interim, I know that the vision plan will come out with a whole different set of priorities, but these are items that we can recognize easily and start chipping away at.
And some of that can be funded with our streets department, some, not all, but some. right?
Again, we're not talking about solutions right now. We're putting concepts up here. Kim?
We need a new parking garage, down in the town area, so we need to, be able to identify where's the best place to put that and find, someone to build it for us. Yeah.
I like the way you phrase that.
Next week, across the street. Yeah, we're gonna have one across the street.
And then,
Okay, Bob? I will, let me guess. I don't take studio money.
I'm glad you did that, because I almost forgot.
I'm like, how long?
And the reason I'd like that is one, that adds to the facilities that Amy has for programs. Plus, it rents out, that building was non-functional that was there, and it rented out all the time. Weddings, she can have the therapeutic, people can have classes, I mean, the propositions are endless. And what I envision is an inside with a kitchen, and that kitchen to be able to serve outside. So when the Azalea Festival comes, it becomes a concession stand for anything going on there.
I picture me like glass, like built into the environment.
That's an outstanding elevator pitch. That's exactly what you need. What's yours? Your person.
Well, so I'm not gonna say what his was, Cuthbert Center. I think that we've got that flowers, beautifications of Flower Town. I mean, we are the Flower Town. We have the Flower Town Festival, and almost any city I go to has more flowers than we do. I think that's important. And then,
Just one at a time.
I'll tell you that. That's all okay.
I'll tell you what, we'll start with you the second round. So give me your second.
The people have been promised underground utilities. It's not a priority for me, but I think the people have been promised it. They've been waiting on it, so I think that should be a priority out of franchise fees that we do.
Okay.
And then I have a last one, but I'll wait on it.
Yeah.
Okay, should we read one of, Matt's?
Yes, somebody want to do that? Hang on, let me.
I'll pass, I'm a realist.
Okay. Yeah, give me Matt's.
Okay, well, I was gonna, mention, he's got, I'm not right in here.
Traffic, so.
Yeah, the roundabouts. And because that's on my list too. I think that we need to identify the best areas to put roundabouts and start on a plan for our first one.
We already did. 5 points is
Right.
already gone.
Right. But probably need to consult with someone with the best place for it. 5 Points may not be the best place.
Sure.
So,
But is this fair, is traffic circles around town?
yeah, and then now that's Matt.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Counselor.
Mine is, I think that we need to take over, the timing of the lights going down Main Street. Because I think right now they're managed by DOT. And I heard at one time that possibly we could take that over. So that way we don't have to wait on them all the time and we can time our own lights. Is that a big expense, Ross? Something like that, it is.
Multiple people.
Significant expertise.
Yeah, the town of Lexington did that. They didn't take care of the timing themselves, but they were a integral partner in funding, identifying and funding, traffic signalization in a bigger downtown. They've been doing that for a number of years. They've been successful, but it took them a long time. Okay, Mayor, you're next.
All right. Again, the vision plan is going to give us a lot. We need to be thinking about how to implement some of those items in the future. But for this, we did a walking audit, basically from town hall all the way over to, was it Rollins Edwards Community Center? And Richardson Avenue, there are some improvements we could make to Richardson Avenue, like surface striping and parking. Steve with Green has been working on a concept there, can narrow that area, make it safer for pedestrians. One thing we have to consider though, as part of those improvements, these are relatively low cost, potentially high impact for traffic safety, but delivery of items to restaurants, if we do narrow it down to one lane in each direction to make it safer for pedestrians, we need to have a plan for how we can address those types of deliveries.
So Mayor, are you wanting, when I say Richardson Avenue improvements for pedestrians, it's
Mostly for pedestrians, but it increases parking as well, which is a huge challenge. But it's a surface level fix, so that we don't have to pay for asphalt, just basically restriping.
Right. Ms. Brown, you're next.
Council members, yeah. Thought about this for a long time. We should discuss it as well. Concept that to increase it possibly, looking at increasing it to at least 8 vendors who would be ready. That's a good population, more people that they can go to, that they let and we look around in the low country, most of the cities that are smaller than us have.
Just for comparison's sake, the town of Batesburg, Leesville has 9 council members. Richard.
Salary increases for personnel, to include a, establishing a across the board salary plan. It includes your service, to promote.
I thought salary was a whole nother conversation. We got to put that in here too?
Yeah, that's gonna be the budget.
I mean, I know, but
So you're saying,
Just a townwide salary plan, and I know we have a maximum medium, and minimum, but we don't have an established, mechanism to move through that.
what we do, is that isn't that part of why we did the merit cycle?
It's not established, so it's not.
One time.
They get a,
We just do it. We don't
We don't want to.
Go ahead. Next,
Well, so I have two then.
give me one. For now, please.
I really think even if we just do $1,000 a year to the police officers and, for living in the town, I think it'll help public safety, crime, and give them incentive to live in the town with their cars. And then one of the others on Matt's, if I go through his, the other one, he said that he really feels like he needs a traffic engineer.
That's on the.
Okay. So then give you my last one.
Hang on.
And it doesn't have to be 1,000. I mean, I was just saying 1,000, something around there.
All right, your last.
I think that now that the DOT property connects, that we have that now, that connects the Haven Park to the Sawmill Branch Trail, I think, we've also got some extra land out there. I think it's a perfect time for the Haven Park expansion.
We can't expand on that.
No, we can't, but it can connect, but there's other land out there. Maybe some beach volleyball, it acts on land historic, exhibit, outdoor rink for skating or ice skating, basketball courts, and really make that like a big, huge, nice park. Think of like Park Circle Park, but not as much of equipment, more so things like, an outdoor pavilion that we could rent out to make some money, volleyball, all that stuff.
So they check that.
No, and I think that could actually make us money if we do it right.
Great.
You're tipping in mind.
You're
Thank you so much. So that's extra work. I got 2 days. I was gonna change my takeover timing of traffic signals because when I read the rest of what Matt wrote down here, he says to talk with DOT about changing the lights at certain times. And so talk with DOT about the timing. And he has a suggestion. No, not. No, no. Yes. It is. Okay. I have another one. Okay.
It's on your list.
Well, yeah, I've got more on my list. We've talked about Underground Utilities, State Park, Desperate Center, so all that's been said. Flowers, Fire Town, we said, Haven Park. The other one is retirement. I think I sent an email to y'all about this. The retirement pay, allowing the police fire people that work outside that are hurting their bodies or working in horrible environments. I think having the option to either purchase for a low amount or have it paid until they reach the age of Medicare. So it won't be forever, just limited amount of time. But I don't think all departments need it. I think it's police, fire, with street people that are using their body. And I know they get hurt a lot, very a lot. So I think it's different.
But the cross section of the administrative staff is so minuscule.
Not all parts necessarily. I mean, some of them might sit in an office.
You don't think managing the homes?
Burning buildings or something.
It's mentally exhausting. Yeah, I got it. This, like I said, picking up things across the table, fully running the years. End of fiscal year, if there's a surplus. We've got some great employees in town that are truly undervalued. Not underappreciated, but undervalued.
Mr. Brown, you have more?
No, that's it. I don't know.
Okay, Mayor?
My last item would be to enforce the capital replacement plan, and really, it's already there. On page one. But we really understand year over year what we need to be planning on from the expenditure standpoint to maintain our assets and to rolling capital like the fire trucks that come in trucks. Use that. Okay.
I do have one more.
Sure. Go ahead.
So if we expand Godey Park and we put in some nice tennis courts and a tennis pro center and all that, you know, and expand it, we can expand that. That could be a huge income source for us. And that's what I keep thinking about. Like, I know we need to pay more and do these things, but if we bring in a lot more people and more hospitality, and people, they would pay for police and fire and more and other employees more money. So I really believe in expanding that base so we bring more people into the town. And the quality of life of our existing citizens, things that affect them every day that they God because some of them.
Okay. Bob, you're done? Kim, you got any more?
No. I think everybody else covered mine.
Okay. Now. We're gonna sort of prioritize these. We're not doing the same way we just did. Look at this list, these lists of things. What are those things that we must do? What are those things that we must do? And I'm going to give you three. I'm going to give you three. I'm going to give you three marks. What are those things that we must do? We don't have an option. We have to do them. I'm not saying this fiscal year. I'm not saying next fiscal year. But what are those things that we as a town must do?
So we take our marker.
No, I'm gonna mark it for you.
Okay.
What are three things we must do? You wanna write those down?
Capital.
Well, I tell you what, let's do that. Let's take our marker. Well, we gotta give it the same marker, so I'm gonna use different colors. What are the three things we must do? Kimma, what are your three things? Or do you want to take a minute to look at the list?
And how are the people seeing this?
I have no idea. That's a good question. They will remember when we put all this together. That's going to go to you. It'll be a public document.
Okay. I think traffic flow is very important, so I'm gonna say traffic circles
That's one.
and timing of signals
It's two for you.
and additional parking, so I'm gonna say parking garage, new parking garage.
Right here.
Downtown, it's walkable.
All right, those are your three. Hang on, let me key right here.
Are we trying to look for votes for the most and,
What are your three, what are the three things that you individually think we must do, Bob, on this list?
Our capital replacement plan,
Up there?
Richardson Avenue improvements, just because it's low cost, high reward.
It's two. Got one more.
Salary increases. You got the first.
I'll be disappointed. All right, to me, what are three things that we must do? In your view?
excluding what they've already chosen, right?
No, you can put your mark on there too.
But I'm trying to get maximum benefit here, so it's like.
You can put your mark on there too. These are, we are not committing to any of these things right now. You are giving us as staff and yourselves guidance as to the direction you want us to go.
Okay. I would say something I don't care about, but I know the people do, so underground utilities.
Come on.
Bringing flowers to Flower Town because it just makes sense.
Okay.
Um,
One more.
well, I guess for now it'd be the closed sidewalks, pedestrian gaps, crosswalks throughout the town.
Put it on the list. Richard, what are your three must-dos? Now, you can duplicate any of these or not?
Salary increases.
Three more.
Capital replacement plan. Sidewalk, yeah.
Mr. Brown? Three must-dos.
Let's see.
Hey, Aaron, I really need you to choose that.
No lobbying.
And moving forward.
Two more.
And did we employ bonuses?
That's, there's not that.
Yeah.
Page 3.
Page 3.
Oh. Oh, okay.
One more.
You chose the affordable workforce housing earlier. Well, I mean, he did.
Yeah, we'll replace the plan too.
All right.
Okay. That's good.
Now, council.
Tell me about those.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Well, we gotta do Matt too. You wanna do Matt since you are looking at this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know one of those is optimized traffic calming,
yes.
which is
Yeah,
already one.
And
And
that,
traffic circles around
and
town.
traffic circles.
well, that would include the traffic person too.
And.
That's on the other list.
He's got three, right? Yeah. He's mentioned to me the sidewalk pedestrian,
Yeah, we
yeah.
have two traffic circles.
Because somebody got a proxy on the right now. All right, Mayor, what are your three?
All right,
Three
capital,
must-dos.
capital replacement plan.
Okay. And remember, you can use, I'm sorry, but going forward, you can use all three on one item.
And I've been pushing for that for a long
I
time.
think, those sidewalk, those pedestrian gaps.
Okay.
And, Richardson Avenue improvements are something that I think Dream and other partners can help us with. It's low hanging fruit, but I think increasing our salary, making sure we stay competitive is more important on this. That it's a must, yes. We'll let that organically come out.
It's gonna happen anyway. I will change my Richardson Avenue to capital replacement fund.
You do that? You change your mind? Yeah, but we don't know that they're gonna pay for it, right?
No, we don't.
I didn't
But
think.
the fact that it is not that expensive, we can find hospitality, something to do.
The vision plan cannot push it.
But the vision plan, it looks like it's not gonna be funded.
What are those things that we should do? So these are the things you told me and the rest of the staff and yourselves that we must do. What are some things that we should do? Very important. We should do these things. You know? One of these ideas is a really good idea. We can't do it this year, maybe not next year, but we should do them. What is that? It's a short-term goal, if you will. It's a short-term aspiration. It has a window of, let's say, 5 years or less.
Affordable workforce.
So you want to start,
Workforce
Kevin?
housing.
Workforce housing. Hold on, let me put my key up here. Should. Affordable housing. What should we do? What are things we should?
I'm gonna put all three on Cuthbert's.
Okay.
We're gonna make them.
Oh, I have to read.
Well, he's checking.
Oh, yeah.
He's serving time. I like the efficiency. Brevity is great. Tiffany, what should we do?
I think the bonus for in-town housing for the police department should be done. I think it's not on there, but I was pretty surprised when I looked at the list of the amount of employees making over 100,000 a year. I think that before we go with just giving increases, I think that's very important. But I think a salary study should be done and see where. Well, I'm just saying.
We've done two before.
So many. But when you're all, because some people need raises and some people don't. So how do you can't really say, I'm not going to choose that one unless we look at those, even as council look at those or something. But I think the retiree insurance is important. But that's not for the whole town, because then I don't think it's really fair still. And then, I think the closing the sidewalk pedestrian gaps is really a safety item. There's a lot of pedestrian accidents, and I think that's very important.
Okay. What should we do? You give me all three.
Okay. You should do the retirees health insurance.
Okay.
Should be looking at traffic service.
One more.
Should should be looking at the underground.
Okay. Mr. Brown, what are three things we should do?
Three things.
Yes, sir. Should do.
I do think that traffic circles might be something that the citizens would.
Okay.
And you can see all those over here, right? On this, just making sure you can see them.
But I do think you should, do the center.
Okay. One more.
Because I think we need that building to satisfy the needs of some of the residents.
Okay. One more.
I think the employee bonus at the end of the year or something that help us recruit people.
Okay. Give us other two.
And, okay, I'm gonna say, I just had it in my head. Okay. The traffic circles, definitely,
Okay.
she should do, we should do.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say, the comfort center.
Okay. Mayor, what are your should do? Three marks. Richardson Avenue improvements. It's low hanging fruit. Maybe not this year, but should be done. Okay. We're gonna have partners for the traffic circles. We should look at that, but I don't want us being the front runner of those, or the front funder, or the project manager. We don't need to do funding. But I want to push things in that direction, so I'm there with that. Okay. And then, I'm a huge fan of assets that generate revenue, and I think the Cuthbert Center is low hanging fruit in that regard. Okay. Now, one last category. What are those things? And it could be any of the things that we've already marked, the blue or red mark. What are those things that we could do? What are things that we could do?
Oh, my goodness. Now I need to know money, like what kind of money we're working with. I know.
What are things that we could do?
How many votes do we get?
How many you want? One?
What are the things that we?
I hear the peanut gallery says one.
Yeah, they want their mark.
They're ready, we're ready.
All right,
What's the list?
let's do 5.
Let's do 2.
I think it's leaving the one that would be very surprising. I think the other is to
That's what we
impose
do within our current budget, right?
No.
Is that what could means? It's like easy money.
Down the road. Could do.
I understand.
Could you? You mean down the road or like immediately?
You mean
Could do, down the road.
in this,
Down the road.
in this fiscal year?
This is.
Well, we could do all of it. We could do,
We could do the new parking garage downtown if we find a partner we can fund it.
Yeah.
And we could do the Hagan Park expansion that would be like the North Charleston. That.
in Berlin, yeah.
That's two. That's two.
I'm done.
Yeah.
What is it?
We only get 2?
Just 2.
I'm gonna say the exact same ones, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah?
Because I think that we could find partners for both of those. You know, we definitely don't want to pay for a garage.
All right.
And
What are you gonna look to?
Cuthbert Center and Hagan Park.
Back in the day.
Well, I mean, if you should do it and you can't do it, then you could do it. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Give me 2.
I think we could, with corporate partners, do the Hagan Park expansion.
Okay. One more.
I think it's easy. Jesus, I wish I had 3. I really, this is not
Me
easy
too.
for me.
You ran for office to make decisions,
I know.
to cast votes.
I'd say, I think we could, if we hire more people in-house, we could close sidewalk and pedestrian gap.
All right, Richard?
With the parking garage,
All right. One more.
the pictures now being improved.
But that's small,
You know, those
that's
two are
not
kind of
much,
the same, closed sidewalks and Richardson Avenue.
They're pretty close.
but it's different, like, a little
Mr. Brown, 2 things we could do.
Well, we can have a conversation about, holding over the workforce out.
Okay? 2. One more.
We can have a conversation about increasing.
But we can't have 8, we have to have 9.
8 plus the mayor's 9. You have to have an odd number.
Oh, okay.
You have to have an odd.
Well, I was thinking,
Okay. Good work.
I'm glad we don't have to distill this down and I'm gonna make a consumable portion.
So what we're doing is send all this material to you. Specifically, the department priorities that you identified, we're gonna try and put some dollars to that, department heads. Everybody understands that? You're gonna get obviously copies of this as well. The department priorities especially are what we will use to, as the basis for our first budget meeting. This is a budget meeting, but we look at numbers and, kind of put some meat on the bones to, direct to help you make decisions as we go forward. And we'll try and stay within the bounds of revenue stream that Rhonda talked about at the beginning of the meeting. And if there are if there's continued interest in things that we cannot pay for, then we'll have those discussions. As a reminder, we'll have this next budget meeting in March. I'd like to have first reading of the budget in May. So that means we'll probably have a budget meeting every month between now and the end of the fiscal year, in June. But an additional budget meeting, a budget meeting in March in addition to our regular council meeting, probably an additional budget meeting in April. So that at that point, we'll be that close to having first reading of the budget in May. It gives plenty of time to make adjustments between April and the end of the fiscal year. That's what our plan as staff is, and if that suits y'all. Happy to hear any objections or suggestions for something.
Well, this meeting seems a lot like asking my granddaughter what she wants for Christmas.
So, on the agenda items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's only one item left on the agenda.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right. Second. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.